Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday. It is the 16th day of November, 2021. I hope this day finds you healthy and COVID-free. I hope this day finds your family healthy and COVID-free, and that the needs of both you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met. Blessings upon those that are working in the healthcare field all over the world, trying their best to save lives. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage for us to keep our streets and sidewalks clean. Blessings also upon those that make deliveries for our convenience. People that deliver food and goods and services and people. Double blessings on those trying to help, trying to deliver and rescue boys and girls, men and women and children, teenagers from sex slavery, from prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, child molestation and pedophilia, as well as pornography and child pornography. Blessings upon these innocents that caught up in these industries, and curses upon those that bring them into these industries, support these industries, finance these industries. Double curses on them. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States alone without a roof over their head today, and there'll be more. Millions around the world, including places like the Philippines and places like the Middle East and places like on the continent of Africa and other places that don't have a roof over their head and oftentimes don't know where their next meal is coming from. Blessings upon them. For theirs is the kingdom. And blessings upon those that are trying to help, at least in a small way. There was a basketball game last night. Our New York Knicks played at Madison Square Garden for the second time against the Indiana Pacers. They were victorious last night. They won the game 92-84. There's a lot of subplots to this game. I started mentioning it right before the game to some of my subscribers and viewers. I expected the Knicks to blow the Indiana Pacers out last night. It didn't happen that way, but I expected it. And the reason I expected it is because a couple things. Tom Thibodeau had 2 days to practice. Because of the constants of the NBA schedule, there's not always a lot of time to put a Tom Thibodeau style practice together, put it that way. But the Knicks played Friday, and then they had off Saturday and Sunday, and then they had the game last night. So that being the case, they had time to practice and make adjustments for what has been seen already in terms of observations about what might help. Tom Thibodeau mentioned on Monday in his presser, Sunday after the practice, that he had put in some plays and that he was, make some more structure in the offense. And he was hoping that would improve. I also mentioned to you before the game in our preview video that, I decided, Tom Thibodeau knows more about basketball than me and many of you, though you don't believe that. But he's been around a long time and he knows basketball, especially NBA basketball. So I decided, if he thinks that Kemba should start or that Evan Fournier should start, he must see something. So let's let it roll. But then last night, and at the press conference, he actually hinted that he could make changes. He didn't say he absolutely wasn't making changes. Matter of fact, he opened the door to make changes. Just didn't say when or who. Well, last night we actually did see a change. One that was welcome. What happened now, we saw, and the reason I expected the blowout, going back to that point, is I expected Kemba to continue to be aggressive like he did Friday. And I expected a breakout game from Evan Fournier. He's long overdue for a breakout game. He has not had a good game, I think, since the Celtic game, really. I think that's the last good game Fournier's had. Maybe the first Orlando game. That's, a few weeks ago. It's been a minute since we've seen something from Evan Fournier. So I was like, okay, it's about that time that he break out after a nice practice session, and especially after what Tom Thibodeau said he implemented. I was expecting ball movement, and I expected him to be the big beneficiary of that. I was disappointed. I did not get a breakout game from Evan Fournier. As a matter of fact, we pretty much got what we have been getting from the starters. Now, Kemba played Kemba ball in the first quarter. I mean, he was doing some things offensively and even defensively that impressed me last night. I mean, he actually played pretty good defense for the guy that's the smallest guy on the floor. And he was really exhibiting quickness that you would have saw in the Charlotte version of Kemba Walker. But I was totally shocked when, okay, of course, now they finished that time, that unit. I think they were behind. The first quarter, they ended, it was 20-16. The second unit came in at the end of the first quarter. And of course, Mobb Deep starts making their run. And then all of a sudden, they started closing the gap. And at some point, they took the lead. Then he brought the starters back in and went back to the Indiana Pacers. And it was back and forth. But what I wanted on the second note, aside from I expected a blowout because I thought Fournier was going to go off, is I thought that the starters would at least keep it close. You see, the Knicks bench is really, I mean, obviously one of the top units, period, in the NBA. Top 5, I know it is, in the NBA in terms of efficiency, in terms of scoring, in terms of plus minus. They just one of the top units, and you can see it when they get on the floor. So they have been really balling, but they've been having to make up 14, 18, 20 point, 24 point deficits in order to try to get a win. So I thought, at least if the starters keep it close, that when Mobb Deep came in, we was going to clean it up. And that's pretty much what happened. But the surprise to me was come fourth quarter time. You know, the frustration came when he took out Obi and put in Julius. But then he did not put in Kemba or Evan. They did not see the court in the fourth quarter. That was a little surprising to me. They did not see the court in the fourth quarter. And the next thing that tells me changes are coming, because you saw this last year. He had an extended period where he had Alec Burks playing point guard. And I thought, and I've been telling some of y'all, Alec Burks or IQ could be a starter. He had extended minutes where he had Alec Burks playing point guard last night. That means he showed no trust in Kemba to close the game. I mean, he just didn't. Okay. And so he basically solved taking out Kemba and Evan with just Alec Burks, because Alec Burks can play a wing and he can play the point guard. And he was playing Alec Burks next to IQ. And he just, you know, and last year when he did that, you know, it was like he said, we don't have a point guard. I think Elfrid Payton was hurt at one point, and I don't know, and I think D Rose was in the COVID protocol, and he was playing AB at the point guard. You know, he didn't play Frank. He didn't play nobody else. He played AB at the point guard because he didn't trust nobody else. Because Thibodeau will show you who he's trusting in those crunch time minutes. So the Knicks pulled out a game last night with basically, you know, your second unit combined with Randle and RJ. And so that was interesting. And I want to see what happens going forward. These next few games, we got Houston and Orlando. Orlando tomorrow at the Garden, and Houston on Saturday night at the Garden. Now, this is a whole week they're going to get to practice at home. They're going to be home. They're going to practice. I wonder if he's going to make some changes, because that was a big thing to me, watching Alec Burks play the point guard last night. I don't mind it at all, but I just thought he would close with Kemba again, you know, being that Kemba did have a good first quarter, but he didn't. And he definitely did not trust Evan Fournier. Now, RJ Barrett. Some of y'all, I mean, Knicks Nation, come on, baby. Come on now. The boy is in his third year and he's 21 years old, and some of y'all still tripping. And all during the game last night, I'm looking at Twitter and people are crapping on RJ. I mean, really. You know, he's no good. I told you he was no good. Blah, 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 blah. Some of y'all I'm going to have to just ignore. RJ's the deal. Okay? And yes, he's going to get done sometime. This is the NBA. Everybody gets done at some point. Believe it. LeBron too. Everybody gets done at some point. Everybody. Okay? Nobody goes in the NBA and don't get done. It's like going into a gang. Everybody catches it at some point if you're going to join. I'm just saying. So, RJ being 21 and taking on all challenges as far as defense, he's going to get lit up like he did with Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward destroyed him Friday. But that's a learn. When you're looking at an RJ Barrett, that's a learning experience for him. Okay? When you see him score 2 points, 4 points, those are learning curve stuff. Okay? Now, last night, what I loved is he was missing shots early. He was missing shots. You could see his confidence was shot. But then he gathered himself. And when that brother stood up in the fourth quarter and took them shots like he had hit 22 in a row and was getting ready to hit another one. That's the way he stood up. And he knocked down 2 big threes. One of them was the dagger 3. That's what you get an RJ Barrett for, y'all. That's what you get him for. And he only shot 4 of 13, 3 of 7. We look at the stats. He was -1, 6 boards. But when you want somebody to come through and you give him an opportunity, he's going to do what he do. See? And so I was very impressed with that. Again, Obi Toppin played 16 minutes. I'm a little disappointed. I wanted to see more of Obi. That daggone double pump slam that he did on that boy in Indiana, I was like, no, he didn't do that. Woo. Even Obi said, woo. Don't let him get a jump shot. Just don't let him do it, because it's a wrap when that boy gets a jump shot. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So that's coming. But daggone, he just needs some time, daggone. And we got to get him 20 minutes a game. I don't know how Tom's going to do, but he's got to do it. Mitchell Robinson was playing hurt. And he's going to continue to play hurt. And when he's not hurt, the Knicks are going to take that next step. Okay. And he's not going to be hurt all year. You know, and then as soon as he tweaks the ankle, you always get these boo birds. Some of y'all, I think what it is you just have sad lives. And some people use sports to vent their sadness. And I cool, you know, cause sports is fantasy, right? So it's just entertainment. So it's just hard to watch people crap on their own players. They call themselves Knicks fans. And, oh, I want to trade him. Let's trade him now. Or he's hurt all the time. Here's another cat in his 4th year, 23 years old. He's the future. He's the future. And without even scoring, you know, he makes his presence known on the floor. In the first quarter, if you didn't see that, I can't help you, but he's the only guy of the starting 5 that I would actually, if it was just based on merit, I would keep in the starting 5. He's the only guy because of, you know, the impact he has. But anyway, he was playing with a bum ankle because he had hurt it a few games ago, and he's still playing on one leg. And Tom Thibodeau knows how important he is. Keeps him out there. Now, he couldn't come back last night, but then you had Taj Gibson. And this is why we have a Taj Gibson. He played 29 minutes last night. He only scored 2 points, but he had 8 boards, 3 on the offensive end, and the defense that this cat brings. And what it is, if you know, I love it because I'm not just seeing the grit of Tom Gibson, which he brings, the hustle, which he brings. It's the defensive IQ. You can't teach that experience, that defensive IQ that he has. Daggone. That helped us a lot last night. He was plus 22. And that was for real plus 22 because he impacted the game like that. Then, of course, there was Burks. We talked about Burks playing point guard down the stretch. Very important. And then, of course, there's D Rose. D Rose did what he did. He scored 14, 7 of 14 from the field. He did not hit a 3 last night, which is rare for him. 7 assists, though. 7 assists, man. Oh, my goodness, man. And so, yeah. And then, you know, now, Randle. Randle did not have a good game. His lack of IQ is on the defensive end was evident. But equally evident was his willingness not to force things, was his willingness to take the back seat to players that was really hot, like IQ. We'll get to him in a minute, but that was impressive. And what I really like about Randle in games like that, see, what bothers me is when he have games like this, you can see his emotions struggling, right? And if he gets knocked out mentally out the game, he's done. He's not even worth being on the court, but Tom will still stick with him. But last night, he was battling mentally, and he's stuck in there. And what I like when he's not scoring is he can get us tough boards, man. He got 11 boards last night, you know, and see, sometimes, you know, you want the offensive boards. He only had 1, but the defensive glass is where you limit the other team's, you know, attempts. You limit them to 1 shot, right? You try to. And he had 10 boards. He had 5 assists. Now, a problem, of course, the frustrating thing about our boy is the turnovers. He's always a turnover waiting to happen. And so 5 turnovers last night, but they're improving. He was -2. RJ was -1. for the game in terms of plus minus, which is an improvement for both of them compared to what's been going on. So I liked that from him. He was really willing in the fourth quarter to look for the hot dude, to not try to force anything, to hit the boards hard, make sure they got one shot, play really good defense down the stretch, even though some of the times when he backs up, when he's supposed to be stepping forward and he backs up and lets a guy come through for the lip, it's just so frustrating to watch. He did that a couple of times last night when Indiana made runs. But then he tightened it up, at the end, and you got to give him that credit. He played good defense down the stretch. He was 5 of 15, did not shoot the ball well, 1 of 6 from 3, did not shoot the ball well at all, but he was playing team ball. That's what we're trying to win. We're trying to play that team ball, right? He did that. Then, of course, there was Emmanuel Quickley. He ended up with 16 points. He ended up with 5 boards, 1 assist, but he was 4 for 4 from 3, and some very big shots, both in the first half and the second half. First half to keep us in the game as part of Mobb Deep, getting us back in the game and getting us ahead. Second half, taking the lead again after the first unit lost it. Taking the lead again because they were only down by like 1 or 2. And then he comes in there, boom, boom, and now we up. And now, man, gets to the basket. He has definitely improved in his ability to get in the paint. Still has the floater. He hit one last night when they was all packing the paint, and he just threw the floater up there. It was good. Then, of course, the 3-point game, we talked about that. And just the boldness, the savvy, the gonads to take them big shots, man. Yeah, this kid is good. We knew that. And they asked Tom after the game, Tibbs, when did you notice, he was a special player? And he said, when he was at Kentucky, before I was even coaching the Knicks, he said one of his assistants was coaching at a college team. I think he said Georgia. And he called Tom. He said, got to check out this kid Quickley. And so apparently Quickley's been on Tom Thibodeau's radar before he even came to the Knicks. Okay. So that's pretty much the story of how we got him. He just told us because he was watching him from Kentucky before Tom was even coaching the Knicks. So there you go. Now, going forward, I don't know what Tom's going to do. But the indication of playing Burks instead of Kemba or Fournier down the stretch tells you he just not trust them. Defensively or offensively, I don't know, but he just doesn't trust them. Tom plays who he trusts in that fourth quarter. Now, the thing about Tibbs is that he always defends his players. You will never hear him bash his players. He might bash the whole team, by saying nobody played well. He might do that. But he will not single out a player, even though it might be obvious that there's certain problems. And so he's not going to say Evan and Kemba, I didn't trust. Matter of fact, what he said was, he said the second team was hot, I just left them in there. Well, there were games where he didn't do that. But last night he did. Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if you might not see changes. I'm not saying he's going to change the starting 5 tomorrow night against Orlando. But I think he's going to start using the Elfrid Payton treatment, let them run the first quarter, let them run a little bit in the third quarter, and then that's it. Especially Evan and Kemba, unless they're hot. Unless they're really hot. When you were with Kemba, I thought Kemba was pretty hot last night. He was 8 of 11 from the field. I thought he was very efficient, especially in the first quarter. But, the defensive deficiencies, to me, that's why he did not play in the fourth quarter. The defensive deficiencies. And you had an IQ who's playing really good defense. Obi is playing really good defense. D. Rose, Taj, Burks, they're all playing, really good defense. And then when Randle's head is in the game and he's not emotionally just, gone from it, he plays defense. And of course, RJ was struggling in the beginning, but then he came back and played good defense. And RJ, like I told y'all, he's a scorer. And to me, what got him started was there was a break, a fast break or a mini break where they were moving the ball and they were pushing it. And D Rose threw a beautiful bounce pass. And RJ ran backdoor on it and flushed it. And that got him going. See, a scorer needs to see the ball go through the hole any kind of way. And it could be a foul shooting. It could be a dunk like that. And then he'll get going. After that, he nailed the 2 threes. He had 3 threes last night, but he nailed 2 of them. And like I said, that last one was the dagger. And so that's why you keep a RJ. That's why you keep dealing with a RJ. That's why you got to deal with him when he has his struggles. Because this is how that's called development, Knicks Nation. Development is not pretty. some of y'all think development is like a straight line up. It's not, no, development's not pretty. You're going to have to deal with some ugly stuff to get to the good stuff. He's going to be an all-star eventually. He is. I don't know if it's this year or next year, but he's going to do it. And when he is, it's because we went through nights where he scored 2 points or he got toasted by a Gordon Hayward or something like that happened. And he learns and he comes back and he keeps working. So I'm expecting him this week to break out a little bit. I expected Fournier to break. I'm still disappointed in Fournier. 7 points, 3 of 9 from the field, 1 of 4 from 3. I'm still a little bit disappointed in Evan Fournier. And I guess Tom is too, because he didn't play him in the fourth quarter at all. But RJ, I'm expecting, he's going to come back. He's going to work hard in practice. He's going to put the time in. He's going to put the shots up. And so this next game against Orlando and the game after that against Houston, both at home, I think you're going to see some improvement. So I don't want to look too far ahead. I'm trying not to. But we got Orlando tomorrow night. We got to win that game. We got Houston Saturday night. We got to win that game. And that game's the one of a back-to-back, which is where I think you might see a change. Because I don't think he's going to play Kemba in the back-to-back. So I don't know what he's going to do, but I don't think Kemba's going to play in the back-to-back. But Sunday, we're playing in Chicago against the Bulls. They just destroyed the Lakers last night. I mean, yeah, they went into L.A. and did business last night. Was it in L.A. or was it in Chicago? Let me see. But they put a beating on. No, they were in L.A. They came to L.A. and put a beating on the Lakers last night. So they're for real. I was thinking they were going to take a year to gel. Nah, they for real. And Lonzo was drafted by the Lakers, and that boy hit 7 threes. Against the Lakers last night. He ended up with 27 points. He hit 7 threes against the Lakers last night. So Chicago's for real. So we got to be ready for that game. But we can't look too far ahead. Again, I'm trying not to. So let's just get this win tomorrow against Orlando. They done beat us once for sleeping on them already. So we got to take care of business here. I think Tom is probably going to start the same starting 5. If he changes, he changes. But I don't think he's going to give him a long leash. I don't think so. And so it's winning time. We're getting close. He said he needed to get a sample size, a good sample size. And a lot of us figured it was 20 to 25 games, and I think that's correct. But we won't see 20 games until a week from Friday. The 27th of November will be our 20th game. Right now, we're 8-6. We played only 14 games, and so we're still early. So I'm thinking he's still going to run this starting unit at least Wednesday against Orlando. But we'll see what happens over the weekend. But I hope I see more Obi. That's my goal. I hope I see more Obi. To me, that's one of the missing ingredients. I want to see 20 minutes for Obi Toppin. And I hope this week, because of it's a homestand, Mitchell can get right. He can get healthy. His ankles could get healthy and he can be ready to go. Okay. He's been playing on one leg for about 3 games now, but he's doing the best he can. To me, that's warrior stuff right there. He's out there battling. And then hopefully we get Nerlens Noel back. See, so if we get both of those cats back, let's say for Sunday against the Bulls, that would be nice. That'd be very nice. So that's the wrap on this game. We're going to talk about Orlando tomorrow morning. We're going to do a little review. We can't sleep on Orlando. They done taught us that lesson. And so we got to be ready to play. They're coming to the Garden. Cole Anthony is going to come with guns blazing. Because he wanted to play in New York and they didn't draft him. He's going to be ready to play. But we'll see what happens. In the meantime, have a safe and productive Tuesday. Shalom.